So hi, I'm Sarah
Hi.
from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to be able to speak to you today.
And you?
Maybe we can kick off with a brief introduction to Renegade Nell. For people who don't know anything about this amazing new show, what can they expect?
Renegade Nell is a fantasy period action adventure. Unavoidably, I think swashbuckling should be included in the description of it. But yeah, it's a lot going on and very, very entertaining.
Of course, after Happy Valley, we've
Yeah.
seen how good Sally Wainwright is at writing these incredibly truthful characters, these amazing relationships between them. Of course, this is a completely different beast,
Yeah.
being set in the 18th century, having these fantasy elements. But when you first read the script, what really jumped out to you and why did you want to helm the series?
I think Sally was the reason I wanted to read the script because I'm a mega fan. But then the idea of Sally jumping into a genre that she isn't known for was just so intriguing. And it was a genre I'd dreamt for a long time of working in, sort of an action adventure of this scale. And reading how Sally approached it was exciting because it was just her writing. She hadn't changed in her style because she was writing in a new genre. The characters were all very Wainwrightian and recognisable. I think Nell especially is so clearly related to Catherine from Happy Valley. They're sort of cut from the same granites. They've got shared DNA. And she just writes, I think your word was relatable. It's like relatable, complex characters are the reason to watch any show. And I think you then have the added excitement of putting them into a world that we've never seen before. And it's a really irresistible combo.
And of course, you've got an amazing cast across the board, which is really crucial, kind to this feeling of, it being sort of an ensemble of characters, but particularly Louisa Harlins.
Yeah.
I mean, it does feel like anyone that was in Derry Girls just got on to even more amazing things for the strength of that show. But I was also reading, that maybe she had a bit of imposter syndrome, leading a show like this, but she knocks it out the park. How did you know she was the right person?
I think she does have imposter syndrome. I think I did as well because it was the first time I was dabbling sort of in this world and at this scale. So we sort of had each other to sort of cling to behind the scenes and sort of get each other through it. She obviously needn't have imposter syndrome. She's so good, she's so accomplished, and she was the clear choice from, we saw, as you'd imagine with this sort of character, we saw, I don't want to say hundreds, but dozens and dozens of people, all of whom were great, and they got so far because they were brilliant at one thing. They'd be fantastic dramatic actors or fantastic comedians. I think Louisa is that very rare combo of being able to do everything. And I only knew her at that point from the Derry Girls and knew how funny she was from that. And she was filming the Derry Girls when we were auditioning, so she couldn't come over, so she sent a self-tape. And it was one of those rare things when you press play and it's like, yeah, that's it. And you knew within the first scene. And Sally's very exacting within the casting process. So she knows how it's in English, obviously, but there's a style and a rhythm of Sally's writing that doesn't fit all actors. And there's sort of structure and tricks and bits and bobs that she puts in that you can completely miss. But it makes it sound like it was a sort of a test. But when Louisa did it, she just hit everything. And so we were comfortable knowing that she could absolutely nail it.
And another great and striking thing about the show is you kind of balance the fact that, are these fantasy elements, but it does feel, like you've really made an effort for it to have historical accuracy as well.
Yeah.
And just, we feel very much immersed in that time. And then all the stunts that are thrown in as well. What were some of the highlights and challenges of making all that work?
I think tonally, there's madness to the scripts. There's an anarchy to the way Sally had written it, and the combination of all those elements of the fantasy, of the grounded family drama, the VFX, and then the fighting especially. And we wanted to come up with a world where you believed everything. It wasn't just this show with a sort of sprinkling of magic on top. You wanted magic to be within the DNA. And we often use Tinkerbell as a sort of what we're not making. We wanted the VFX and Billy Blind to be sort of heavier and blunter, and we wanted dirt under fingernails and to have a grounded approach to all those things. But yeah, the fighting was really key because it comes from Nell. She is essentially a superhero, but she's given this sort of adrenaline shot and these special abilities when Billy combines with her, and designing those and setting our own rules for that was the most fun.
And what about the stunts? Because I heard that Louisa was even doing some of them herself, and even Jenny Richardson. And, you know, it just feel like people were just going all in. Did anything ever go wrong?
So we had a brilliant stunt team. That, like, as a kid dreaming of directing stuff like this, like always it would be like, oh, imagine having a stunt director and fight designer. And we had them, and we had a team and the wire people, all these like ingenious people, but we had stunt doubles as well. And so Melissa, who played Nell, Louisa's stunt double, was there all the time and was like just this brilliant, really cool French lady who was an Olympic climber, like, and just so impressive. And she took Louisa under her wing, and over the course of, we shot for 6 months, and Louisa became more and more confident with what she was able to do. So within the realms of safety and insurance, we were then like encouraging Louisa to do bits and bits more. And in terms of stuff going wrong, when you're sort of short framing a punch, so you're always, if you're the camera, you're missing by a safe distance. There were a couple where she'd hate me for telling you this. There were a couple where she'd get too close and punch the guy in the face. And Sina, who is the guy that seemed to always be on the receiving end, was very sort of good-spirited about it, but she would be mortified. But it would only ever be a graze and stuff. But no, I think you have to shoot stunts so slowly. There was never any real risk of mishaps. But with wire work, it's very detailed and fiddly and complicated. So when you get a shot that works, it's amazing, and then you just paint the wires out. When it doesn't work, it's like this bizarre sort of ragdoll flying through the air. So there's like the outtakes, if we ever get to release the bloopers, there's some good silliness there.
And I'm almost out of time, but very quickly, in terms of the takeaways of the show, I mean, I think it is actually quite rare these days that something is something, you know, the whole family can watch, you know, but still has those comedy beats and still has those dramatic elements. But also just this character of Nell as well, like the fact that she is this kind of funny, flawed, you know, female character, but, you know, there's not kind of a romantic narrative, you know, driving it. It does feel like a real great sign of our times, you know, something definitely for young women to kind of get behind too.
Yeah. I think one of the things I was attracted by, and I think Louisa would probably say the same, it was fully Disney. Like, we loved the platform that we were going to be on, and because of that, it was obviously a new Disney hero and a Disney princess, and the opportunity to reframe what a female lead looked like and sounded like and talked like and battled like was so exciting. And it was to just sort of scruff it up and give the audience something new. And even though we were very deep period, we're based in 1705, the modernity of the script was something that really was important to us, so that we weren't doing something, hopefully we weren't doing something you've seen before. It was a new take on it.
And obviously you've done Sex Education, this, you know, what do you hope to be doing next? I'm in the middle of, or near the end of, I shot my first film at the ripe old age of 46 last year. I've waited a long time for it, but it's a film called Joy, written by Jack Thorne, about the pioneers behind IVF. So again, a very different pace to this, a period, but only in the 70s. So yeah, that comes out at the end of this year. Amazing. Can't wait to see that as well. And of course, for everyone to see this incredible new show, Renegade Nell. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for your time. No, my pleasure. Nice to meet you. Thanks a lot.